nice occasion. There's a Ishanina Charana Bhajane, a famous song in the same tune. Dina Bandhu Nine Bandhu Indu Yemma Kanna Munde Manda Asa Dinda Nindu Chanda Dinda Poreve Nindu Ende Nava Jerushiyalli Sundarangane Vandisube Tumbu Manadu Bandhanava Vidisikayu Tandevayu Vandyasadu Santara Sangava Kottumat Dhara Sangava Bhangisu Nanda Kandane ತುಂಟತನದಿ ಪೈವದನರ ಹಿಂಡು ಗರ್ಭ ತುಂಡು ಮಾಡಿ ಗಂಡಕಿಯ ಗರ್ಭದಿಂದ ಅಂಡಾಂಡಗಳೊಳಗೊಂಡು ಬಂಟೆಶಾಲ ಗ್ರಾಮದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತ ಕೃಷ್ಣನೇ ಕನಕ ಕಟಕ ನವಯಾರಕ ಘನಕಪಿಲಾರಣ್ಯ ತನಕ ನಾನಾ ಜನ ಗಾನವಾಣಿ ವಾಣೀಪತಿ ವಿನುತ ಹರಿಯೇ ನೀನು ಕೇಳಿ ಕಾಯುತ್ತಿರಿವಿ ಶ್ರೀನಿಕೇತನ ಹರಿಗುರು ಸಿರಿ ಚರಣಗಳ ಮರೆಯದಿರುವ ಸಿರಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಹರಿಸಿದಂತೆ ಸುಗುಣೇಂದರು ಧರಣಿಯ ಜನರೆಲ್ಲರನ್ನು ಪೊರೆವಕಡ ಗೋಲು ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಹರೇ ಮುರಾರೇ. Nava-Jersey is New Jersey, Kanakakataka is like Connecticut, Navayaraka is like New York, and Bandeshalagrama is Shalagrama Shila. Shalagrama Shila itself is not Krishna. Shalagrama Dalli, Bandeshalagrama Nag Ninta Krishna Allah, Bandeshalagrama Dalli Ninta Krishna. So the Panchabheda, the stone is different from Krishna. Krishna is inside the stone. Krishna itself is not the stone. So that's why Bandeshalagrama Dalli Ninta Sri Krishna. So that's the reason.
अध्यक्ष्यते च इमं हर्म्यं संवादमावयोः ज्ञानयज्ञेन तेनाहं कृष्णस्यामिति मे मतिः श्रद्धावानसूयश्च शृणुयादपि नरः सोऽपि मुक्तः शुभान् लोकान् प्राप्नुयात् पुण्यकर्मणां कच्चिदेकच्छ्रुतं पार्थ त्वरेकाग्रेण चेतसा कच्चिदज्ञानसम्मोहः प्रणष्टस्य धनञ्जय अर्जुन उवाच नष्टो मोहस्मृतिर्लब्धा त्वत्प्रसादान्मयाच्युत स्थितोऽस्मि गतसन्देहः करिष्ये वचनं तव सञ्जय उवाच इत्यहं वासुदेवस्य पार्थस्य च महात्मनः संवादमिमं श्रोष अद्भुतं रोमहर्षणं व्यासप्रसादात् श्रुतवान् एतद्युक्तं परं योगं योगेश्वरात् कृष्णात् साक्षात् कथयत स्वयं राजन् संस्मृत्य संवादमिमम् अद्भुतं केशवार्जुनयोः पुण्यं हृष्यामि च मुहुर्मुहुः तच्च संस्मृत्य रूपमत्यद्भुतं हरेः विस्मयो मे महान् राजन् हृष्यामि च पुनः यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्णः यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्रीविजयो भूतिः कृपानीतिर्मतिर्मम यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्णः यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्रीविजयो भूतिः कृपानीतिर्मतिर्मम यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्णः यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्रीविजयो भूतिः कृपानीतिर्मतिर्मम. ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे मोक्षसंन्यासयोगो नाम 18ोऽध्यायः. हरि ओम्. श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम्. श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु.
चलनिलयौ ओ वेङ्कटाचल पवित्रौ पङ्कजनेत्रौ परमपवित्रौ शङ्खचक्रधरा चिन्मयरूपौ वेङ्कटाचलनिलयौ वैकुण्ठपुरवासौ पङ्कजनेत्रौ परमपवित्रौ शङ्खचक्रधरा चिन्मयरूपौ वेङ्कटाचलनिलयौ अम्बुजो ಅಂಬುಜೋದ್ಭವ ವಿನೂತ ಅಗಣಿತ ಗುಣಧಾಮೋ ಅಂಬುಜೋದ್ಭವ ವಿನೂತ ಅಗಣಿತ ಗುಣಧಾಮೋ ತುಂಬುರು ನಾರದ ಗಾನ ವಿಲೋಲೌ ತುಂಬುರು ನಾರದ ಗಾನ ವಿಲೋಲೌ ವೆಂಕಟಾಚಲ ನಿಲಯಂ ತುಂಬುರು ನಾರದ ಗಾನ ವಿಲೋಲೌ ವೆಂಕಟಾಚಲ ನಿಲಯಂ ವೈಕುಂಠಪುರವಾಸೌ ಪಂಕಜನೇತ್ರೌ ಪರಮ ಪವಿತ್ರೌ ಶಂಖಚಕ್ರಧರ ಚಿನ್ಮಯ ರೂಪಂ ವೆಂಕಟಾಚಲ ನಿಲಯಂ ಮಕರ ಕುಂಡಲಧರ ಮದನ ಗೋಪಾಲೌ ಮಕರ ಕುಂಡಲಧರ ಮದನ ಗೋಪಾಲೌ ಭಕ್ತ ಪೋಷಕ ಶ್ರೀ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲೌ ಭಕ್ತ ಪೋಷಕ ಶ್ರೀ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲೌ ಭಕ್ತ ಪೋಷಕ ಶ್ರೀ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲೌ ವೆಂಕಟಾಚಲ ನಿಲಯಂ ವೈಕುಂಠಪುರವಾಸೌ ಪಂಕಜನೇತ್ರೌ ಪರಮ ಪವಿತ್ರೌ ಶಂಖಚಕ್ರಧರ ಚಿನ್ಮಯ ರೂಪಂ ವೆಂಕಟಾಚಲ ನಿಲಯಂ ವೆಂಕಟಾಚಲ ನಿಲಯಂ ವೆಂಕಟಾಚಲ ನಿಲಯಂ ಜಗದ್ಧಾರಣ ಅಡಿಸಿದಳೆ ಶೋಧ 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 ಜಗದ್ಧಾರಣ ಜಗದ್ಧಾರಣ ಮಗನಿಂದು ತಿಳಿಯುತ್ತ ಜಗದ್ಧಾರಣ ಮಗನಿಂದು ತಿಳಿಯುತ್ತ ಜಗದೋ ಉದ್ಧಾರಣ ಮಗನೆಂದು ತಿಳಿಯುತ್ತ ಜಗದೋ ಉದ್ಧಾರಣ ಮಗನೆಂದು ತಿಳಿಯುತ್ತ ಮಗುಗಳ ಮಾಣಿಕ್ಯರ ಅರಿಸಿದಳ ಶೋಧ ಮಗುಗಳ ಮಾಣಿಕ್ಯರ ಅರಿಸಿದಳ ಶೋಧ ಮಗುಗಳ ಮಾಣಿಕ್ಯರ ಹರಿಸಿದಳ ಶೋಧ ಜಗತ್ತೋ ಕಾರಣ ಹರಿಸಿದಳ ಶೋಧ ಜಗತ್ತೋ ಕಾರಣ परम पुरुष परम पुरुष परम पुरुष पुरंदर विठलन अडिसिदळ शोध पुरंदर विठलन अडिसिदळ शोध पुरंदर विठलन शोध पुरंदर विठलन अडिसिदळ शोध जगतो कारण अडिसिदळ शोध जगतो कारण
asked me about visiting a synagogue and what it's like. But I wanted to tell you that if you visit an American synagogue, you're visiting something that's, one, you're seeing a lot of America, and you're seeing a lot of Eastern Europe, meaning my family, has been 500 years in Poland, and my last name, Brill, is a Czechoslovakian name from the 14th century. When you're seeing here, you're seeing an Eastern European Jewish synagogue. But Jews lived peacefully in India for 3,000 years. From the time of King Solomon on, there was no anti-Semitism. Jews lived peacefully in India for full 3,000 years. And unfortunately, in the wars of 48, 49, 50, 51, the Jews were airlifted out because in terms of the massacres and the transfers, nobody knew what was going to happen. So unfortunately, a huge civilization was airlifted out. But what I want to bring out, that if you visit a synagogue in India, when they do like the Sabbath candles at the beginning of the Sabbath, there's a practice like candles, they will do the same hand motions as Arti. They will, after the beginning of a Sabbath meal, they'll have the bananas or coconuts out where they bless the candles and the bread, and they will then have almost a parsadam after, at the beginning of the Sabbath meal, looking much more Indian. They'll take off their shoes. Is that what you're seeing here is a Eastern, Polish, Russian way of being Jewish, but the real Indian way of being Jewish is not what you're seeing here. So a lot of it's going to be mixed up Americanism when really that's not the real difference. The fact that Jews are wearing shoes here, but they don't wear shoes in India, is really, I mean, not to confuse the two and the way it works. Even Indian Jews will even celebrate biblical prophets like the prophet Elijah by offering up, by making little offerings of bananas and rice to the prophet Elijah to intercede in their life, which would never be done by a Jew from Eastern Europe, but will be done by Jews in India. And unfortunately, there's very little left because originally, this city had 335,000, this city had 25,000. Everybody's been airlifted out, so in this city we're down to 11 here, 10 here, 12 there. So it's really unfortunate. So just understand that not to confuse American Judaism with Judaism as a whole, that Indian Judaism looked much more Indian in all of its, the way it looked, the way it was performed, the way the synagogue worked, much more Indian. I was also asked to clarify yesterday the meaning of Torah. Torah technically refers only to the 5 books of Moses, but in the way Jews use it, it means all of everything up to the 21st century. Torah means everything in the whole tradition. They would say Jews keep Torah. That's like saying, they're keeping, that's the word Jews use for Judaism, Torah. It means for everything. Finally, people ask me, just for the parallel, the sense of chant, Jews do Jewish texts as a chant with certain notation and candidation. I don't have a voice, I can't carry a tune, and I have not sat here on the floor doing memorization for many decades. However, Jewish texts are actually chanted, and someone asked for how does a Jewish chant sound. So as best I am going to do, it would sound something like, that's the way a Jewish sort of chant sounds. A more dirge downward would be something like, different types of chants out there. Once again, coming from an Eastern European background, my vowels sound a lot like Europe. Only the Jews from areas like Yemen still use the original notation that could have 3 sounds for the same letter, like ancient Vedic text, in which the dots over it will be, you can get different sounds from the same letter. Most modern Jews do not do that anymore. It's been simplified. It's much easier. We just collapsed it all, but only a very small few groups still do all the original sounds. So also in terms of the similarity. Those are just some things that people asked me afterwards that I thought I should bring up. Yes?
Could you say something about similarities between Judaism and Islam?
Can I say?
I thought you were going to touch on it yesterday, but due to lack of time.
I mean, the little bit I can say is that they're both similar, that compared to Christianity, they're both legal. That's the biggest similarity. The similarity is...
What do you mean by that?
Because in that sense, both have dietary rules, and compared to a Christian,
Oh, okay, legal in that sense.
both, meaning, in that sense, meaning both Jews and Muslims don't eat pork, but only Jews and Hindus worry about the dishes and what touched everything. So in that sense, it's slightly different. In the sense of Jews, in terms of theology, Jews for many years lived in the broader Islamic world, so therefore wrote philosophy in Arabic, read Arabic philosophers. It influences Jewish music living under Islam. But it's not clear. I mean, there's a certain game you play in interfaith. Take any three religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, and think of it as give someone two salt shakers. I mean, just give anybody three religions and say which two is closest to the other, and you can make almost any two and leave the third one out. So it depends what you want to show in terms of similarity.
Thank you.
But historically, didn't Judaism precede Islamism? In other words, Judaism is older than Islam.
So so that sense, that's why, and people ask me why is there similarities to Judaism and Hinduism? Both Jews and Hindus are both Bronze Age, ancient priestly religions that worry about purity, worry about dietary rules, worry about lots of very technical details, and that Judaism goes back to antiquity. Islam, if you take a historical point of view, it came to be in the 7th century. So it reflects the 6th, 7th, 8th century. It doesn't reflect that antiquity. But Muslims will then claim they were the true prophets and that therefore everybody else has distorted it and that they're just restoring the original ancient tradition. But I can't defend that position. Thank you.
Rabbi, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Could you comment a little bit to this audience on the practices adopted in Judaism, particularly for younger kids?
For?
Like baptism, what's the comparable practices?
Okay, so Jewish practice. So once again, like Islam, Jewish males practice circumcision. In that sense, Judaism and Islam is similar. And that is the basic practice. But unlike Islam, Judaism, depending on which group you belong to, that has a first male haircutting ceremony, and used to have, like an ancient religion, a weeding ceremony, which is not done in America anymore, but back in the old countries, it was a big thing. Then there is usually a ceremony, which was kept even in Europe, of going first day of school. And the Jewish practice would always have been to put candy or honey on the letter of a book to lick it off. Some sort of ritual like that. And then in America, there is a greater emphasis on bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah at the age of 12 and 13, puberty, which is in some way corresponded to American Christian confirmation. It took on a whole American, that becomes, if the one of weeding is not celebrated anymore, the bar and bat mitzvah corresponding to confirmation is kept more and more in America because that's part of the Americanization. But the real Jewish ritual is really schooling. Sending the kids off for school and then saying you are now going to spend 14 or 18 years in school learning the books, and therefore those called the yeshiva, and that's really the model of how things are transmitted by going. And the American emphasis, especially to compete when your children are becoming scientists and doctors and lawyers, is even a greater emphasis on schooling, on education, on the huge amount of hours to master in an intellectual way the ancient books. So therefore Jews, in older countries, whether Poland or Iraq or Yemen or India, more emphasis was placed on memorization and recitation. For America, there is greater emphasis now placed on understanding and conceptualization because your understanding has to compete with what you learn in college. So it is less time memorizing all of Scripture and more time being able to explain it when you get older. Okay, thank you.